Power is won by the sword, but it is kept by the law. In the late 12th century, the samurai had conquered Japan. They were masters of war, but they were not yet masters of peace. This is the story of the man who taught the samurai that true strength isn't just winning a battle, but building a just society. This is the story of Hojo Yasutoki, the warrior who became a lawmaker. He was born in 1183, at the very center of this new samurai world. His grandfather was the first Hojo Regent, the power behind the throne. His aunt was the wife of the first shogun. He grew up in the rugged, martial atmosphere of Kamakura, the new capital of warrior power. He learned at the feet of a legend. The first shogun, Minamoto no Yoritomo, personally mentored the young Yasutoki. He was being groomed to rule, to uphold the new order his family had fought so hard to create. And that order was soon put to the ultimate test. In 1221, the retired Emperor Go-Toba declared war on the shogunate. It was an unprecedented crisis. To raise a sword against the emperor was an unthinkable crime. In this moment of panic, Yasutoki became a pillar of strength. As commander of the shogunate's forces, he led a massive army to Kyoto. The imperial rebellion was crushed. The samurai had proven, once and for all, who now ruled Japan. But Yasutoki's greatest challenge was not on the battlefield. As the new military governor of Kyoto, he was immersed in the world of aristocratic law. And it was here, in the capital of his defeated enemies, that he would find the inspiration for his life's greatest work. In Kyoto, Yasutoki discovered a different kind of power. Not the power of the sword, but the power of written rules. The imperial court had a sophisticated legal tradition. The samurai, by contrast, had almost nothing. Their justice was based on unwritten customs and the vague concept of reason. This created chaos. Disputes between warriors over land and inheritance exploded. Judgments were inconsistent and often seen as unfair. Yasutoki knew this was unsustainable. A government of warriors needed a warrior's law. In 1232, after becoming regent, Yasutoki embarked on his masterpiece. He gathered the wisest men of his government to create Japan's first warrior code of law, the Goseibai Shikimoku. This was not a law code handed down from on high. It was a collaborative effort, based on the principle of counsel. The result was a legal marvel, 51 simple, clear articles that laid out the rules of the game for the entire warrior class. It defined how land disputes would be settled and clarified the duties of government officials. For the first time, samurai justice would be based not on the whims of a lord, but on the authority of a written text. Crucially, Yasutoki made it clear that this law was for the samurai. He was creating a parallel system, designed by warriors, for warriors. It was a declaration of independence. The samurai were now a self-governing society, with their own laws. But creating a law is one thing, living by it is another. Now, he had to prove that he, too, was subject to his own rules. To make the law respected, the lawmaker must be respectable. Hojo Yasutoki led by example. As the de facto ruler of Japan, he could have lived in luxury. Instead, he practiced a life of famous frugality. Stories of his integrity became legendary. In one famous tale, a litigant tried to bribe him with a superb horse. Stories of his integrity became legendary. In one famous tale, a litigant tried to bribe him with a superb horse. Yasutoki refused, stating that if he accepted, his mind would be partial, and justice would be clouded. He understood a core principle of the rule of law: the judge must be impartial. His style of governance was revolutionary. He championed a system of deliberative council, where decisions were made through discussion. His reign as regent is remembered as a golden age for the Kamakura shogunate. His fair and stable governance was called jinsei, or benevolent rule. He had brought not just order, but justice. He had earned loyalty not through fear, but through fairness. But his success had an unintended consequence. By creating such an effective system, he also solidified the absolute power of his own family line. While he ruled with wisdom, the system he perfected would later be used by his descendants for their own selfish ends. In 1242, after nearly 2 decades of just rule, Hojo Yasutoki died at the age of 60. He had been the architect of the shogunate's golden age, But would his greatest creation, his code of law, die with him? Hojo Yasutoki was gone. The Kamakura shogunate he perfected would eventually fall, but his law endured. The Goseibai Shikimoku was so practical and fair that it outlived its creator by centuries. It became the model for almost all subsequent samurai law. Even the laws of the final Tokugawa shogunate owed a debt to his work. His 51 articles became the legal DNA of the warrior class for nearly 600 years. Like many great figures, his story has been polished into a legend. The image of the perfectly selfless, incorruptible sage ruler may be an idealization. But the legend exists for a reason. The historical truth is that Hojo Yasutoki was a rare kind of leader. He was a man who held absolute power, but chose to restrain it. He was a warrior who understood that a society's true strength comes from its laws. In an age of violence, he chose reason. In an age of warlords, he chose the law. Hojo Yasutoki's greatest legacy was not a castle or a conquest, but an idea. The idea that no one, not even the most powerful samurai, is above the law. He was the warrior who laid down his sword and picked up a pen, and in doing so, built the foundations of a nation ruled by justice.